You know that COVID test that they're jamming up your nose? That's the PCR test. The PCR test was invented by Kary Mullis, who won a Nobel Prize for his invention that changed science forever. He was a wild character, he loved surfing, and you need to watch all of these facts about him that you'll never see on mainstream media. They're quite revealing, and there's quite the bombshells. The first one is that he was not a fan of Dr. Anthony Fauci, who really blew up in the public eye during the HIV/AIDS fear-mongering scare at the time. Take a listen to what he says.
What is it? What is it about humanity that wants to go to all the details and stuff and listen? You know, these guys like Fauci get up there and start talking. You know, he doesn't know anything really about anything, and I'd say that to his face. Nothing. The man thinks you can take a blood sample and stick it in an electron microscope, and if it's got a virus in there, you'll know it. He doesn't understand electron microscopy, and he doesn't understand medicine. And he should not be in a position like he's in. Most of those guys up there on the top are just total administrative people, and they don't know anything about what's going on at the bottom. You know, those guys have got an agenda, which is not what we would like them to have, being that we pay for them to take care of our health in some way. They've got a personal kind of agenda. They make up their own rules as they go. They change them when they want to, and they smugly, like Tony Fauci, does not mind going on television in front of the people that pay his salary and lie directly into the camera. You can't expect the sheep to really respect the best and the brightest. They don't know the difference, really. I mean, I like humans. Don't get me wrong, but basically, the vast majority of them do not possess the ability to judge who is and who isn't a really good scientist. I mean, that's a problem. That's a main problem actually with science, I'd say, in this century, because science is being judged by people. Funding is being done by people who don't understand it. Okay, who do we trust? Fauci? Fauci doesn't know enough to, you know. If Fauci wants to get on television with somebody who knows a little bit about this stuff and debate him, he could easily do it because he's been asked. I mean, I've had a lot of people, president of the University of South Carolina asked Fauci if he'd come down there and debate me on the stage in front of the student body, because I wanted somebody who was from the other side to come down there and balance my, because I felt like, well, these guys can listen to me, but I need to have somebody else down here that's going to tell me the other side. But Fauci didn't want to do it.
Trust the doctors, they say. Trust the scientists, just not the innovative geniuses who win Nobel Prizes who disagree with the government and media. Don't listen to them. Just follow orders, okay? Maybe you'll get a free donut. The second thing you might not know about Kary Mullis is that he experimented with LSD, and rumor has it that he told Albert Hofmann, the inventor of LSD, that it helped him invent the PCR test. Although I couldn't confirm that, I do know two things for sure because I read his book, Dancing Naked in the Minefield. It's really, really funny. Kary Mullis is hilarious and quite smart. But in the book, he does talk about meeting Albert Hofmann while pitching the PCR test idea to his friend Ron. And in chapter 2 of the book, where he's warned that he might not win the Nobel Prize because he's too eccentric, from the book, I wouldn't be surprised if you got the Nobel Prize this year, but you'd make it easier for the committee to give it to you if you didn't talk to the press so much. They don't have to give it to you until you're dying. Nealon said that it was probably okay that I admitted I loved surfing and women, but he thought that the committee might frown on the fact that I admitted I used LSD. Surfing, women, and LSD might be too much, he told me. Seriously, this book's hilarious. And later in the book he said, my mother responded by sending me an article she'd torn from the Reader's Digest. It said that taking LSD was bad for your brain and will cause flashbacks for the rest of your life. She entreated me not to do it anymore. I wrote back that it was too late. It had already changed me. Pretty interesting stuff. The third thing you might not have known, and maybe the most important video I'm going to show you, is him explaining how PCR test works, and somebody talks about misusing PCR. No matter how much it gets fact-checked, no matter how much it gets covered up and lied about, he pretty much explains that it's not made to tell you whether you're sick or not. I know they don't want you to think that. I know they don't want you to say that. They might even fact-check and censor my video because I showed you the clip I'm about to show you. But this is the inventor of the PCR test who I think understands what he created. Without his mind and his innovation, we probably wouldn't have a PCR test. Take a look.
Misuse PCR to estimate all these supposed free viral RNAs that may or may not be there.
I think misuse PCR is not quite. I don't think you can misuse PCR. No, the results, the interpretation of it. See, if you can say, if they wanted. If they could find this virus in you at all, And with PCR, if you do it well, you can find almost anything in anybody. It starts making you believe in the sort of Buddhist notion that everything is contained in everything else, right? I mean, because if you can amplify one single molecule up to something that you can really measure, which PCR can do, then there's just very few molecules that you don't have at least one single one of them in your body, okay? So that could be thought of as a misuse of it, just to claim that it's meaningful. It is. No, there's very little of what they call HIV, and what's been brought out here by Phil Pott and Isai already. The measurement for it is not exact at all. It's not as good as our measurement for things like apples. An apple is an apple. You know, you can get something that's kind of like, if you got enough things that look kind of like an apple and you stick them all together, you might think it's an apple. But and HIV is like that. Those tests are all based on things that are invisible, and the results are inferred in a sense. PCR is separate from that. It's just a process that's used to make a whole lot of something out of something. That's what it is. But it's not. It doesn't tell you that you're sick, and it doesn't tell you that the thing you ended up with really was going to hurt you or anything like that.
Isn't that fascinating? You won't see that on Fox News or CNN most likely, because they don't want to tell you. From Ron DeSantis to Governor Abbott to Governor Newsom, from left wing to right wing, they're all touting their mass testing scheme. Cool. And if you learn about the PCR test, he found out how to zoom in times 2, times 2, times 2, times 2, times 2, so 2, 4, 8, 16, almost exponentially. And that was the innovation that changed the landscape of science, chemistry, DNA, molecules, and research. Don't listen to the experts when the experts don't say who the phony, fake, expert, bureaucrat, government agents tell you to think, because Nobel Prize winners and inventors of the thing that they're jamming up your nose, I'm sure he doesn't know about the thing that he made. Anyway, the fourth thing I wanted to show you was him explaining how he revolutionized research, and it really proves that the science doesn't settle. It's not a popularity contest. If you have 1,000 scientists doing one thing and one innovative science who makes a PCR test or an airplane, it's that scientist or engineer who changes the landscape. It's not a popularity contest of how obedient you are to government or the lab that you work at. That's not what science is really about.
But I was also at the same time writing computer programs, which
I love this.
Most molecular biologists weren't, right? So if you write computer programs, you realize a reiterative loop is really an important concept in writing computer programs. And yet, I mean, most molecular biologists probably didn't know what that meant. But I had that in my mind. I said, you know, if you can figure out something that can get you into a reiterative loop that does something for you, which I had figured. So when I first saw the fact that if I do this thing over and over again, it will double. I mean, it will double the amount of DNA in between the two particular sequences every single time, and so 20 times means about 1,000,000 times, and 30 times means 1,000,000,000, and that's about how many nucleotides there are in the whole DNA, human DNA. And so I could take this process. I guess you know how that process works now. It's just a couple of things. It shouldn't have been, this will not work because if it does, it'll put my lab out of business. You know, that was the way that a lot of people looked at it. Because
this can't work. If it works, I'm in trouble.
If this works, what the hell am I going to do? Why do we need to clone DNA? You know? If I can just, in one afternoon, I can amplify it all up and do it without cloning it. I think we had just finished cloning a gene at CETUS that took 40 people 6 months, you know, and I chose that as one of the little models I was going to say. I can do that in one afternoon by myself now because I know the sequences at the ends.
And the media loves to say, well, all the scientists agree with us. Even though I've done enough research to know that there's multiple Nobel Prize winners, there's tens of thousands, if not worldwide, hundreds of thousands of doctors and scientists who don't agree with you, but you smear them, censor them, call them crazy, and suggest that saying, I follow the science and I follow the doctors gives you some sort of moral supremacy to act like you know science and health better than others. But that's the video for the day. I'm going to keep it short and simple. Kary Mullis. And if you like this video, check out his book. He passed away unfortunately before the pandemic, so I think it's nice that I could keep his legacy alive, and I've enjoyed everything I learned from him, so I'm passing that on to you. Have a great day. These white God bless hats are back. This is the prototype. They're even bigger this time. Same company. You see the American flag on the back. Dream Rare. These are great hats. I love them. People have been asking about them. They're back. DreamRare.com. The pre-sale is now. I also have black beanies way too jacked for the gulag tank tops and is thinking illegal tank tops for the summer and for working out if you choose to do that. Thank you guys so much for supporting, and I'm super pumped to have my merch back in, made in the USA. It's very, very exciting, and get your hat while you still can. Have a good day. I'll be back soon, and please share this video so people can learn something other than just following orders like sheep and lemmings.
I'm way too jacked for the gulag. I don't trust y'all like I don't trust the moon man. Is he talking MTV a la Luna? The more they show, it's looking like the true man. Get what I'm saying? Everything is zoomed in, left, right, trap. They set it up like a crewman. I be too good at rapping not to do this. Got 600 million views without the music. Hey, messing with me, y'all don't really wanna start. I got soul and spirit in my heart. My mind faster, sharper than a dart. I ain't got a part. Americana, I'm a legend. I'ma stay until it's heaven. I would rather go out on my feet than have to bow down to the devil. I will not settle.